Stater. You got a big debate there tonight with the Republican candidates. Your predecessor yesterday, the person you replaced in the Senate, Republican Judd Gregg, endorsed Mitt Romney. Let me ask you this. How close are you to picking a candidate in the Republican race?
Well, I've been meeting with all the candidates, Chuck, and I'm certainly thinking about weighing in. My goal is to make sure that we don't have another 4 years of President Obama. So I've had a chance to sit down with the Romneys, with the Perrys, Huntsman, and I will be sitting down with Herman Cain. So Senator Gregg weighed in for Governor Romney yesterday, and he obviously weighed in for him in the prior campaign as well. Romney's doing very well in New Hampshire, but it's still a long way till the actual day of the primary.
Let me ask you the question that we asked New Hampshire voters. What matters to you more, electability and experience, or a candidate that shares your values and issues positions?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to have a candidate that shares your issues and values position, principled candidate. But in this election, also electability is going to play very strongly because any one of our candidates would be better than where we are today with President Obama. So I think it's really important to put forward a candidate that can beat the president in this election.
So electability is certainly going to matter to you before you make a choice?
Very much electability will matter. Of course, I want someone who shares my positions as well. That's important.
All right, today you're in Manchester. Are you making it back for the Senate vote tonight?
I am. I'm flying out right after this.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Not a lot of people expect the bill to pass as a whole. Are you definitely against this bill, or are you still pondering it? There is a report that says that if passed as is, the White House believes 5,000 jobs can be created in New Hampshire.
Well, first of all, as you know, already the Senate Democrats aren't going to support what the president proposed. It had tax increases on those that make, as a couple, $250,000 or more. That hits a lot of small businesses. My husband has a small business, and we're also going to have a procedural vote. They modified it to now include this surtax on millionaires, but we've seen this playbook before. This is really just a political gotcha vote, and if political gotcha votes created jobs, we'd have zero unemployment right now. So what we need, if the president were serious about this, he would be reaching out to the Speaker of the House, leaders in Congress, and figuring out what we can agree on, like regulatory reform, tax reform, create a better climate in the private sector.
A lot of those bills have been studied by the economists, though, what House Republicans and what some Senate Republicans have been putting out about regulations. And none of the analysis from these independent economists indicates that we would see a short-term bump in new jobs, that the unemployment rate, that maybe long-term we would have some modest positive effects on the economy, but there seems to be a problem short-term here. Do you not want to look at the short-term at all?
Well, you know, what the president's offering basically is a short-term stimulus, which is a redo of what he put forward before, which didn't have the impact on the economy that he proposed that it would, for a permanent tax increase. I think one of the best measures that regulatory reform will help our economy is that the president's own job council is coming out with a report today, and one of the issues they highlight in it is regulatory reform as a recommendation for getting our economy moving.
Do you want to see, though, any short-term spending on infrastructure?
Well, I think one of the things I'd like to see us do is our job. For example, we haven't sat down. I'm serve on the Commerce Committee in the Senate, and if we could put together, I know that the Public Works Committee's already worked on a surface transportation bill. Republicans and Democrats could work on infrastructure funding together, because we should be doing our job and be doing actually a multi-year funding bill. I hear that from contractors in New Hampshire. They want to know the certainty of what projects are coming forth, and our state does as well. So I think that's something we could work on together.
What is the holdup on this?
You know what the holdup is? Is that right now in the Senate, Harry Reid, the Senate Democrats, they haven't brought forward many of these bills. We've only voted on one appropriations bill. It's been over 2 years since we've had an actual budget. Just putting together a budget for our country, I think, would help our economic circumstances, because those that interact with the government would know what to plan for, not just for a month, but being able to look forward through the entire year.
I want to go back quickly to the president's job bill. There's been some independent economic analysis that indicates it would boost the economy right now, where our economy is getting battered because of what's going on in Europe in a way that nobody seemed to expect to happen at this point in time during this supposed recovery period. So does that at all have an impact on your thinking of saying, okay, maybe we do need to do some short-term stimulus?
Well, one of the concerns I have about it is that I think that we could work together on infrastructure spending. I think regulatory reform, again, I want to hit. But one of the concerns I have is that it's a short-term stimulus for a permanent tax increase. I've heard from our business owners in New Hampshire that that's not going to encourage them to create jobs right now. So I think when you see what's happening in Europe also tells us that we better get our fiscal house in order, because with the debt crisis in Europe, if we continue to dig ourselves further in a hole and really don't address the fiscal crisis, we're going to find ourselves in the same position. So that should be part of it, us doing our jobs, working together. You know, we've got that super committee working right now, and that super committee should at least go for the $4 trillion in my view.
Oh, well, okay, Senator Kelly Ayotte, I have to leave it there, but interesting way for you to leave it. Not all Republicans are united about whether they should go big on the super committee, so you'd like to see them do the $4 trillion deal.
I would, because I think we need to stabilize our debt and it'll help our economy. Tax reform to lower rates for everyone is something we could do.
Even if it means potentially change. Some people may pay more in taxes under a lot of these tax reform proposals.
Well, I think that tax reform, lowering rates, is something that we could do. If we lower our corporate rate, that would help our economy, keep capital here. And I think that's something we could work together on.
All right, Senator Kelly Ayotte from Manchester this morning. We'll see you back here in Washington in a few hours.
Thanks.
Okay. Tomorrow on the show, presidential candidate